Hello, everybody. Welcome to GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports, where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co-host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Grant. It's been a little bit. How you doing?
It has. I'm doing good. We both got a little busy with the holiday season, but
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that we're back into the normal flow of
Oh
things.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
perfect timing too, because we're coming up on the last week of the NFL season. Playoffs are right around the corner. So getting into the good part of the season and a lot to be talked about. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and begin this episode, and we'll start out this episode like how we start out every week, and that is with our hot take of the week. So Mason, what is your hot take for this week?
My hot take is that Bijan Robinson is a top three back in the league. And I think he'll end up in the same boat as Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, and Derrick Henry as far as if he gets let go of, he will be, offensive player of the year and, in MVP conversations, winning playoff games. And, he'll be that guy for, teams to just take them over the hump that they may be in. You see those guys and they leave their teams and then they become, they do so much better at their new locations. So, I mean, Bijan Robinson had 22 carries, 195 yards, and a touchdown. And then he did have 5 receptions for 34 yards and another touchdown receiving. So, I mean, it's undeniable that this guy is that Atlanta Falcons, sorry, offense. And he just, whatever happens at quarterback and the injuries at, whether it's receiver or anywhere else on that offense, he has been the most consistent back. And I think that he really needs to figure out if he wants to stay and really ride it out, or whenever his rookie contract does end up, if he wants to go and play for a contending team. But I think that track records have shown, and he could be another one of those names.
Yeah, I think that's a good hot take. I think he's been absolutely fantastic this season. Obviously, he had that incredible game last night for the Monday Night Football game. He's just been dominant all year long. So it is going to be interesting to see what his future looks like in this league.
Hmm.
So for my hot take of the week, I'm also going with an Atlanta team, but I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks. I think that Anthony Davis is going to be a member of the Atlanta Hawks by the end of the
Oh
trade
wow.
deadline. There's a lot of stuff swirling around right now. It's really heated up over the last 48 hours, talking about how the Hawks are really interested in Anthony Davis and how they've already held conversations and they're willing to include Ricochet, who was their number one overall pick last season. They got other draft capital they can throw in there. And I'm even seeing rumors that they might make this a 3-team trade framework and trade Trae Young to a third party. So it'd be very interesting to
Mm.
see how this plays out. It kind of goes back to my hot take from a couple weeks ago where I said Jalen Johnson should be treated as the future of the franchise, the face of the franchise, and they should move on from Trae Young. And it looks like with these rumors that have been coming out over the last 48 hours, that might be the direction they're heading is pairing Jalen Johnson with Anthony Davis. So we'll see what if that happens. But that is my hot take for this week.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Now we're gonna go ahead and slide into our underdog of the week. So Mason, I'll let you go ahead and take that away.
So my underdog of the week is like he's actually an underdog and he's really helped out this team for the past few weeks, and that's Jake Tonges, backup Niners tight end. Been stepping up huge with Kittle out on the season so far. He has 293 yards, 34 receptions, and 5 touchdowns. He just comes up big in big situations and scenarios. Whenever the Niners really need him to step up, he's there because they do have a very tight end oriented offense. We've seen how they've used Kittle throughout the past few seasons, and it's great to see Jake Tonjes step up and be that safety valve that Brock Purdy you know needs, because he's been playing absolutely phenomenal as well. So really interested to see where the Niners can go, and Kittle should be back this week, so that'll be fun to see as well.
Yeah, I've seen some of Tanj's making some big plays during the season with Kittle out, like you said. I know that there was that whole thing where in his first 20 games of his career, he didn't even have a single reception, and now he's
Yeah.
putting together quite a really good season. So Definitely a true underdog and a good pick for this segment. For my underdog of the week, I'm going with the New Orleans Saints quarterback, Tyler Shugg. This last week, he did have a pretty good game, 22 of 27 for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns, and has really actually starting to look really comfortable. I know he's jumped up pretty high in offensive rookie of the year conversations. I think he's the second favorite right now to win that award. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if he can close out the season strong, if that'll make him a favorite. But yeah, had a pretty good game this last week. Granted, it was against the Tennessee Titans, who are a pretty bad team, but
Yeah.
pretty good game. So I'm going to go with Tyler Shugg.
I have a really quick bias hot take. You can call me crazy, whatever you want. I feel like if Cam Scatterboo was healthy, he'd be the favorite for Rookie of the Year. That's just a hot take.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think he was pretty dominant when he was healthy. He was really starting to get in a rhythm. It seemed like he scored like 2 touchdowns every week when he really started getting comfortable. So a lot of these offensive rookies have really started out the season good and fallen off. We saw with Egbuka. The one that's the favorite, Dedero McMillan, is the only one that's really had a consistent season. It's not even like he's had some crazy offensive year. It's just he's
Yeah, I
been
know. He just played
consistent.
the whole time. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I think I agree with that hot take. That Scatterboo would have won if he stayed healthy.
Yeah.
All right. We'll continue with the NFL. We're going to slide over to our game updates. This is going to be a longer one because we actually have 2 weeks worth of predictions that we got to update you guys on. This is where on Instagram and TikTok we give our predictions for every NFL game. So I'll start with week 16. So in week 16, I had a 9-7 week, and Mason, you had a 12-5 week. So you actually
Holy
beat me
crap.
by a good margin there. But unfortunately, in week 17, I had an
Yeah.
11-5 week, and you had a 9-7 week. So a lot of
Yeah.
the ground you covered there ended up going away after this last week, but this will set the records for the final week at me with a 151-74 record, and you are at a 147-78 record. So it is a 4-game difference going into the last week.
I need 5.
So you need 5 to win, 4 to tie. I'll make sure that I'll send you my picks beforehand so you can go ahead and
Yeah.
pick accordingly, and we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe a miracle will happen and something crazy will happen, and you'll win. If not, we're looking at a back-to-back champ over here for back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're gonna go ahead now and slide over to our 3 takeaways from this last week. And actually, if you don't mind, I would like to go ahead and begin this because a lot of
Go
mine are
for it.
more conversation based, and I would like to hear where your head's at on some of these talking points.
Sounds good.
So my first takeaway is, who do you think is going to make the playoffs between the Ravens or Steelers? We all know that they're playing each other this last week, and the winner, moves on after the Green Bay situation and stuff like that, the Browns. So who do you see moving on?
Um, it really I kind of talk about one of this later, but we could just get it over with now. I think Steelers have one of the most inconsistent offenses. I've seen that are kind of going into the playoffs or have a shot at the playoffs. You can really tell without DK Metcalf that they don't really have a direction as far as the passing game because most of their yards came from like little screen plays and things like that, and that's just not winning offensive play calling. Gainwell, he can only do so much, and same with Warren, Johnny Smith and Hayward. They did pretty decent, but it's just hard without your guy like that. And then on the defensive side, you're missing TJ Watt. You got guys that you need to who need to step up very big. And they had those moments where Jack Sawyer picked off Shador Sanders and almost brought it back, but then offense stalled out again. I don't think they scored that drive, but yeah, it's really I can really see the Ravens winning it. They played very well with Huntley at quarterback again. If Lamar comes back, I think that he'll kind of be able to pick apart this defense, especially if TJ Watt doesn't play. I think he will end up playing. But yeah, we'll see. I really think that the Ravens can win against this Steelers team.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. I think the Ravens are gonna go ahead and win that game. Derrick Henry's coming off an absolutely monster week. I expect them to
Yeah.
use him heavily the following week again in this next game. And kind of like you said, with DK Metcalf being out and stuff like that, there's a lot up in the air. Even that big tight end they have, I forget his name off the top of my head. He's gonna be out. Uh,
Washington. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Washington, yeah, who's been a real asset for them down the stretch here. So I really don't expect them to win this game. But the Ravens are also kind of a team that's had an inconsistent offense, along with the Steelers. But I like the chances of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry a lot more than what the Steelers have on their side of the ball.
Mhm.
So I'm going to also go with the Ravens there. And my second takeaway is I really just want to hear your opinion on this. What happened to the Detroit Lions? I mean, this was a team last season where we were like, this is a Super Bowl contending team. Obviously, we saw what happened when they went against the Commanders, and this season has been no better. They're 8-8 now. They lost to the Vikings last week. So, what is going on with Detroit? Where do they need to go for their future to be back to being a Super Bowl contending team?
If you want me to be completely honest, I think it's losing both coordinators, both taking on head coaching jobs, in the same offseason. And then you see Ben Johnson doing what he's doing with the Bears, who have just been looking absolutely amazing. Granted, they did lose to the Niners in a fantastic game, but then your defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, he might not have been as much loved as Ben Johnson was, but you can't deny that their defense, played well enough to be as good as they were last year. And sure, they didn't, execute what or be what they were supposed to be. But I mean, you can really tell that these coordinators and just, some of the play calling, like Dan Campbell took over offensive play calling. He looked good when he first started, but you can tell that that experience of calling the plays and really, figuring out what to do in what situations is really not his strong suit. So I don't know exactly what they need to do, but I do believe that Montgomery will not be here next season just off of,
Mm,
kind of what I've seen. Jameer Gibbs, he's going to have to, he's really been taking the role of that RB1 by himself. So, we'll see. It's so crazy because it's like the fastest downfall of like not even a dynasty, but just a good team,
mhm.
that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this team was literally like, I think, I don't know. I'll have to look back at or coming into the NFL predictions, but I would be sure that this is probably a team that we both had going pretty far at the beginning of the season. And to just see them
Yeah.
not only struggle, but just not even make the playoffs, that's just kind of crazy. So I
hmm
also am a firm believer that the main reason is because of losing the coordinators, like you said. I mean, like exactly like you said, the proof is in the pudding when you go and look over at Chicago, who's having one of their best years in a long time. Clearly, that Ben Johnson was a huge factor to that team's success, and they're really missing him now. And I also agree. I think Montgomery needs to part ways with the Detroit Lions, and I think they need to kind of just give Jameer Gibbs that true running back one workload and see what happens with that. But yeah, just a crazy 180 that they did from last season to now this
Yeah.
season.
Real quick
Uh,
too, I'd like to mention like the decline that Jared Goff has been going through as well. He just
mhm.
doesn't look as confident and as like sharp as he once was, even just in the beginning of the season when he was in MVP talks.
Yeah.
Just crazy to see his downfall as well, just internally as well as just the whole team.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's going to have to be a lot of conversations on, what they want their next steps to be. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right. And then my third and final takeaway is based off of last night's Monday Night Football game. Did Matthew Stafford throw away his chances at MVP last night? And the go ahead is now Drake May.
Yeah, so my first takeaway is I'm just gonna go through with it. Matt Stafford not only played himself out of an MVP, but his team went from competing for the first seed to now the fifth seed, I believe. And
Hmm.
not too long ago, they were hoping to be able to get that first round bye. Matt Stafford down the stretch, I believe it was in the last minute of the game, missed a wide open Xavier Smith on a wide open corner route. And, then three costly interceptions. And you can't win when, your supposed MVP guy is turning the ball over like they had. And then you have Jared Verse not only block the field goal in, what would have been a game sealing field goal, but then pick it up and take it to the house for a touchdown to really spark that Los Angeles Rams football team to making a comeback, and then just to not be able to, execute on big plays like that. Um,
Mhm.
it really sucks, and I do believe that Drake May will end up winning MVP, which sucks because he's basically given it to him. But that's another discussion. But yeah, another thing too. What do you think about the Puka Nakua play? Everyone's saying how they think it should have been ruled a catch, but I think a clear view showed on the side angle that he did let go of the ball.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a catch. I actually didn't know that people
Okay.
were saying that it should have been ruled a catch. I thought
Oh,
that
100%. There was like
yeah.
6,000 likes on some comments that said it was like
Oh,
a
wow.
catch and he got robbed and stuff. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
personally, I did think it was a catch. Yeah.
At first, I did on some of the angles, but then you look
Yeah,
at the side angle, his hand got taken off of it.
for sure, yeah. Yeah, I'll touch on that third takeaway. I do think that Matthew Stafford threw away his, MVP chances,
Yeah,
the last couple of weeks. I mean, when you're throwing how many they have 2 or 3 last night, 2,
he
interceptions, I
had
can't
three, I
remember.
think.
3.
It's
Yeah, so you
three.
threw 3
Yeah.
interceptions, then the guy you're going up against as far as the MVP threw 5 touchdowns. Granted, it was against the Jets, but,
Hmm.
yeah, I think he definitely threw away his chances, but I'll let you go ahead and give your
Yeah.
other 2, takeaways now.
I mean, I really only have one because we touched on the Steelers and Matt Stafford. Those are two of my three. But my other one is I think it's kind of funny because it deals with the Steelers and Ravens, but just not to an as extent as this. I'm convinced that neither the Panthers nor the Buccaneers want to win the NFC South. They both have chances to be able to clinch the division. And Bucks lose 7 of the last 8, sitting at 7-9 after starting 6-2 on the season. And Panthers are sitting at 8-8 right now, and I believe that this is a winner take all game. Whoever wins this game clinches the division and makes the playoffs. Loser, obviously done for the year. I just think it's so funny how, just how hot of a start Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers had, and as well as Bryce Young. I think that they had a very good, hot start as well. But we were talking about Baker Mayfield MVP,
We
discussions,
were.
and it's insane to see that fall off as well. So sucks to see, but Jags are now the Florida team. I feel like that can
Yeah,
actually
for
make a
sure.
push.
Yeah, it's so weird to touch on the Baker Mayfield situation. You would have thought, he got out of the tricky part of not having, his weapons with Mike Evans and Bucky Irvin and Igbuka missed a little bit of
Gets it
time and
back,
then
right?
yeah, he got them all back just to struggle again. So it's just a very weird situation that we're seeing. Their fall off has been crazy. I mean, this was a team
Hmm.
that was absolutely electric at the beginning of the season, and they've just completely fallen off the rails. So, yeah, it's been very interesting to see. And like you said, the Panthers have had their chance to go ahead and clinch this up, and they've been struggling to do so.
Yep.
So it's a very weird ending to the season for both these teams. We'll have to see what happens here in this last week. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and slide over to the NBA, and we're just going to do our player of the week and team of the week like we do every week. So we'll go ahead and start with our player of the week. Mason, who is your player for this week?
My player of the week is Kawhi Leonard. It's pretty cool to see how such a good year he's having. He's averaging 27.5 points per game and then 6.5 rebounds per game. And he had a career high of 55 points versus oh shoot, who was it? Forgot to write it down.
I forget who it was
Do you have
against,
who it
but I
was?
do know the game you're talking
Either
about.
way, he had a really good game. And really him and Harden are like really the only two guys who are kind of playing well on that team. The Clippers I think only have 10 wins and like 21 losses or something crazy like that.
Hmm.
So it's brutal to see as far as a team, but for individual awards, Kawhi Leonard I think has been playing amazing basketball.
Yeah, I absolutely love Kawhi Leonard. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He is a winning player. When he is healthy, there's no denying that he is a top 5 player in this league.
Hmm.
He's just that dominant. Um, Seeing him what he did the other night was just absolutely crazy. And I have seen some rumors that he might be getting dealt at the trade deadline. It'll be very interesting to see if he can stay fully healthy, what he could bring to a contending team. would be very
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see.
Yeah,
For my
absolutely.
player of the week, I'm going to go for more of a players of the week. I got 3 players that had crazy stat lines this last week that I kind of just want to point out. The first one I'm going to do is Scotty Barnes, who the other night had a 23 point, 25 rebound, and 10 assist triple double. That's just an absolutely crazy stat line, 25 rebounds. He had more rebounds than points, but still had a 20-point game. So I just thought that was crazy. And on
That's
top of that, he
great.
also had 3 steals and 1 block. So getting it done on the other end too. The second shout out is to Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, that 55-point game, 11 rebounds, and the 5 steals and 3 blocks to go along with that. Just a fantastic game. And he even scored 51 of those points in only 3 quarters. So he basically had a 50 ball in
Yeah.
3 quarters, which is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third player that I want to shout out, I saved the best for last. Although he's out for 4 weeks now, I'm going with Nikola Jokic. Just
It's y'all
absolutely
fault.
monster game on Christmas Day. 56 points, 16 rebounds, 15 assists. Those are 2K numbers. Just absolutely absurd numbers. They don't even look real when you read them. Unfortunate to see him get hurt last night in the Heat game, and he will be missing some
Everyone
time.
say
But
thank you, Miami.
well, hey, you can say thank you, Miami, all you want, but it was another Nuggets player that stepped on him. It wasn't no
I
Miami Heat
know,
player
I
that
know,
stepped on him.
I
Um,
know.
so Jokic is now out for 4 weeks, but you have to talk about that game he had on Christmas, just absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
So those are kind of my 3 players of the week. I just wanted to highlight those performances because it was a really crazy week of basketball. All right, now we'll go
Yeah.
ahead and go into our team of the week. So Mason, who's your team of the week?
I don't know how many times I've picked this dang team over the season, but I'm just gonna keep picking them, and that is the Spurs. You know, beating the Red Hot Thunder 3 times in 12 days. I think it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season, let alone in 12 days. 8-2 in the last 10, and you know there's an exciting game tomorrow, Wednesday night, New Year's Eve, against the Knicks, who are also 8-2 in the last 10. And I think that can be a very fun game to watch because the last game that they played was fun as well in the NBA Cup. So they are 23-9 on the year, and it just looks like everyone's in their full swing of things. So yeah, shout out to the Spurs again.
Yeah, I think the Spurs are just the most fun team to watch right now. So I
Oh,
completely get why
100%.
you're picking them again. It's worth the hype. For
Right.
my team of the week, I'm gonna go with let's go with the Detroit Pistons here, who have always had a really solid season overall. They're 24 and 8. Sorry, 24 and 8 now.
Hmm.
So really putting together a good season, and they've been at the top of the East all season long. It feels like so far. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them. Just getting the job done.
Yep.
The only other team that was worth shouting out was the Knicks, and I'm not picking them. So
I know.
um,
I know. That's why I had to sneak them in a little bit because I knew you weren't gonna say something. So the only way I could
uh,
get them in was just a little.
yeah,
Oh yeah, Spurs playing tomorrow.
no, it's
Tune
okay.
in.
Hopefully the Spurs handle business.
It's okay. We're due for a loss. We should have lost in New Orleans last night, but
Oh,
it happens.
okay. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and slide over to boxing, which we don't really get around to talking about often because there's not too many huge boxing fights, but a pretty big one happened this last week or so. Actually, it was a little over a week ago, but we weren't able to
Sometime, yeah.
cover it. Yeah. But before we get into it, there was a situation that happened yesterday of Anthony Joshua getting into a car accident. And unfortunately, he did lose some close friends of his coach. So thoughts and prayers to Anthony Joshua and all the people affected by that car accident that
Hmm.
occurred yesterday. But we're going to go ahead and dive into the infamous Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul boxing match that we saw a week or so ago. So, Mason, what are your thoughts on this fight overall?
I mean, I didn't even write anything just because of how easy it is, I think, to talk about. I mean, people got what they wanted to see. Ultimately, Jake Paul getting knocked out. He was, flopping like a fish the whole time, trying to hold on to Joshua. He was, it was just an ugly performance from him. And you can tell Anthony Joshua wasn't able to do, exactly what he wanted to do just off of whatever clause or contract he had. But at the end of the day, Jake Paul still got his jaw broken, and the people were able to watch him get beat up. So whether that was part of the plan or what, it was fun to watch, and I think Joshua is a great fighter, and hopefully he's able to fight again sometime soon. But with what's going on with him, I wouldn't doubt he'd take some time.
Yeah. I think this fight was absolutely amazing. As someone that despises Jake Paul as a boxer, I was very happy with the
Yeah,
outcome. This is exactly the outcome I said should have happened if it was not a rigged fight, which I still feel like it was rigged to an extent. Because, like you said, there was many times
yeah,
in the
yeah.
first few rounds where Anthony Joshua, I feel like, really could have like knocked him out right then and there, but
Hmm.
felt like he was holding back on some situations when he had him in the corner and things like that. But overall, I was very happy. What should have happened happened. Anthony Joshua connected with the right hand and knocked Jake Paul out, which who doesn't love to see? And it just goes to show at the end of the
Hmm.
day, there's levels to boxing. Like, I don't care how cocky Jake Paul comes across as. I don't care how great he thinks he is. I know he says that he can beat Canelo, he can win a title, all these different things that he says, but I think this shows exactly why he needs to just stay in his own lane because boxing is just a different level. Like, you can't just go against
Hmm.
um 80-year-old Mike Tyson and washed up Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, who's been out of the UFC for like 10 years, and think that you can go against a really good boxer, a really great boxer in Anthony Joshua and beat him. So I think he got humbled. I think he deserved to get humbled. So that's really where my thoughts are on that.
He'd get slumped by Ryan Garcia, I believe, like without a doubt.
Oh,
And
100%.
like
There's
even
there's just
even
levels.
Ryan Garcia, I'm not up on
No,
him very much.
no. And it is interesting though, because the original fight was against Gervonta Davis, who was significantly
Yeah,
less in
right.
weight than Jake Paul. I still think that it wouldn't have mattered. I think Gervonta Davis would have
No.
knocked Jake Paul's
Well,
lights out.
that's
So
probably why it fell through because he didn't want to do the
right.
contract.
Right. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that fight real quick because it was kind of a big thing going on in sports, and a lot of people are talking about it, a lot of buzz. So I thought it would be something fun to talk about on the podcast. But now
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and slide over to our last topic of the night, and that is college football. We're in the heat of the playoffs now. I know the University of Miami's got a big game tomorrow on New Year's Eve. So we'll see what happens with that. And Mason, I'm just going to let you go ahead and kind of give your updates on everything going on because I'm really just a casual when it comes to college football, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, Miami's gonna get. They're gonna get the floor swept with them, man. Ohio State. There's really not too much to say about that. I don't even think Miami should have won. The first round. I can't even remember who they played, but it was an ugly game and they should have lost. So yeah, that's the first game that'll be tomorrow night, and then Oregon against Texas Tech. Number 5 Oregon for Texas Tech. That'll be a fun game. I This can I think really go either way because Dante Moore I think is a good quarterback. And then Marcel Reed, is it Reed? I think it is. He's another good quarterback. They're very similar. Um, it's all going to come down to the defense. Texas Tech has, I think, one of the best defenses in college football. In Oregon, they're a very fast-paced team, so that'll be exciting to watch. 9 Alabama, number 1 Indiana. I think Alabama is lucky to even be this, far in the playoffs. Indiana's just I hope they kill Alabama. I've never been big on Alabama. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. 6 Ole Miss, 3 Georgia. I think this will be a good game. Georgia is a good team still. I think that they've kind of gotten swept under the rug with how good Indiana and Ohio State have been, and I think Ole Miss is also another good team. I think they were dealt a very bad card with the whole Lane Kiffin stuff going on, but they have made the most out of what they've been given. So that'll be another interesting game. So yeah, just those are kind of the big things coming up, and then once we get these on January 1st, so January 2nd, we'll have the semifinals figured out, and then from then on, we'll be able to make college football national championship predictions.
And I think the University of Miami will win the national championship this year.
They ain't beating Ohio State, man.
And Carson Beck is going to show why he is a good quarterback.
He can't even get the words out.
Oh
We need
man,
fraud
no.
detection stuff on this video now, man. What the heck?
Oh, what will you do if Miami somehow finds a way to win this game?
If they beat Ohio State, it'll be just straight off of defensive like touchdowns because it ain't
Yeah,
coming from the offense. All they have
yeah.
on the offense is Malachi Tony. He's an amazing talent. I think he's only 18 years old and he's carried this offense this far. It's insane to see. But if Ohio State doesn't win, there needs to be some serious discussions on how overrated they have been because there's no way this Miami team beats Ohio State.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to all
Garrett
these
Run
college
T.
football games. All right. All right.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. Looking forward to seeing how these games transpire. And that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. So thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason. Sign off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you, guys.